Okay, welcome in to episode 19 of Two Man Game. I am your host, Damon, here on a Sunday afternoon, I guess. Was supposed to be Sunday morning, but I woke up an hour ago. So here we are. And I'm with my good friend and co-host, Dom. Dom, how are we doing today? I mean, I know how you must be feeling after yesterday, but how are you
Let's
doing
just
as a person?
say I'm a very happy man right now. And I slept like a baby. I'll say that much. But no, yeah, very excited to talk, before noon my time, which I think we've only maybe done once before, or at least in the afternoon with the sun still up. But very excited to talk about in-season tournament, things about that happened in the league. It's been a pretty eventful week for the league. So yeah, just excited to be here. Do you have a good weekend?
Yeah, we actually had a holiday staff party on Friday that I went to with several coworkers. It was fun, and I liked, getting to see them, a lot of them, for the first time outside of the work environment, I guess.
Yeah.
And then we had the after party as well. It was like the actual thing was from 6 to 9, and then a lot of us went somewhere else until like 2. So
That's what I'm there for. That's what I'm there for. I'm like,
yeah,
where's the after party though? Like that's what I want to know.
it was
So,
fun. It was fun. It was a place, not too far from where I live too. So it
oh,
was
nice.
nice.
Cool.
Yeah, so I did that, and then yesterday I, cleaned, productive, did some stuff around the house.
Very good. Very
Um,
good.
and and then here we are. Well, actually, I would say yesterday, at the end of yesterday, the reason I woke up so late, and we're running a little late in this podcast, so Autumn and I watched three horror movies back to back to back last night, and then it was like 3:30 a.m. and I was like, that's what
W-
Autumn and I are apt to do,
Were
So,
they good movies?
uh, yes and no. You know,
Okay.
I think the second and third one, it was a series called Wrong Turn. I
Oh,
think,
I've heard of him. I've never seen him though.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think the like second one was clearly not serious, like very self-aware. When it's like that, it's kind of enjoyable.
Yeah.
The third one, I think, as well, to a lesser extent. The first one was, just trying to be like a standard horror movie, and I was like, I've seen
It
enough of
is.
these.
Yeah. Well, come on, it's Christmas, dude. Why aren't you watching Christmas movies?
Man, I am out on Christmas movies. Christmas movies, Christmas music. I am not a huge fan of Christmassy things.
Dude, I love it all. I everywhere I went this weekend, I was like, you have to play Christmas music. Yeah, why is there no Christmas music playing right now? Because we decorated the house, and I was like, we got to put Christmas music on. And then Maria had some friends over, and I was there as well, and we weren't listening to Christmas music, and I was like, what is happening right now? Why aren't we being jolly? What's happening?
I have some
Um,
stuff in the apartment, but it's all autumn stuff. I've never been huge on
yeah.
decor either, decor, music, any of that stuff. I will say, Thursday, I believe Thursday was the first day of Hanukkah, so shout out
Yeah.
Hanukkah. Um,
Shout out.
and our school is decorated in Hanukkah and Christmas stuff, which is cool.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, and just so it's not like too like exclusive of
Right,
like one or the other. That's cool.
right.
I like that.
Um, yeah, yeah. Favorite Christmas movie or Christmas song? What do you think? What do you got?
Okay. Okay, Christmas song. I've recorded actually a few of my favorite songs, but I love "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas."
Mm.
It feels very holiday-esque. I love White Christmas. I love Blue Christmas. Anything with Christmas in the title. I don't know if you could tell. I also recently did a cover of like the chestnuts roasting over an open fire. I
Mm.
did a little rock cover of that I'll be releasing soon. So keep a lookout for that.
Is this
And
an Ugly Side Up release or a Dominicus Metodus release?
it's technically Ugly Side Up, but it's just I did it just for me, and it's my dad's favorite Christmas song. So I said, oh, I'll just like record this for fun. So
Little do they know,
yeah.
Ugly Side Up is Dominicus Metodus. They're one and the same.
And one and the same, although the members now do contribute quite a bit, but it started me in a bedroom by myself, so it's,
In the
it's just an
the bunk
extension.
beds.
In the bunk beds. I have my box apartment basically that I had in college. Yeah. But yeah, no, I also had a good weekend I went on a Santa bar crawl yesterday. So I went around Santa Monica wearing a Santa hat and drinking, and that was really fun.
Santa
And
Monica by the Fright Bottoms, one of my top 5 songs this year. I think it was number 4.
The Fright Bottoms.
The front bottoms.
Okay.
I could have
Okay.
said the fright bottoms. I could have said
Yeah.
that.
I
Front
was like, I'm
bottoms.
pretty sure they're the front bottoms. But
My
yeah,
number one
great.
artist this year.
Oh yeah, who was number two?
Ugly Side Up.
Oh, pretty good. They're pretty good. I heard they're pretty good. But yeah, I think At Least Up's gonna release a Christmas album soon, so I don't know if you're gonna listen to that as much.
I listened to everything. Obviously, I was number two on the list, and I had like 40,000 minutes, which I know you had like triple that because you're insane, but 40,000
Yeah,
minutes I feel like is a lot. So to be like a number two
that is a lot. I mean, like
band.
my from being my commute, I have to drive. I'm usually in the car every hour, every day, at least like an hour and a half, if not more. So like that's an hour and a half of music just in the car, and then wherever I go,
See,
I'm at
I am
work.
too, but I also listen to a ton of podcasts.
I think that counts toward the minutes.
Does
I'm
it?
pretty sure it does because like mine would not be that high if it wasn't. Like I
You
listen to
don't
a lot
think
of
so?
music, but I do listen to podcasts too because like I
It's
can only take so
interesting
much
because
music.
they included the minutes only on like the top artists and top songs page.
Yeah, I know. But then they tell you like your top podcasts. So I wish they gave you like a pie chart breakdown, like what was music, what was audiobooks, what was podcasts. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be pretty cool. All right, if you're listening Spotify, don't steal my
We know
idea.
the CEO of
I
Spotify is listening
know
right now.
we know you're listening.
Give us
But yeah,
credit.
yeah, and then yesterday during the bar crawl, like we would go places where the game was playing. So that's when I was watching like half the game. Just hopping from place to place. So that was really just really fun to see. And especially like in LA, like the Lakers playing in LA, everyone's watching. Like it's on everywhere, which is it's nice to have a team where they do that all the time. Um, so that was fun. And yeah, and then I slept. And that was
Speaking
nice.
of the Lakers, what do we got? What are we rocking here on the torso?
I'm rocking the Los Angeles Lakers basketball, like long sleeve thermal that I wear when I play basketball outside in the winter time.
Featured 15th man of the Lakers.
Please, 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 please call me up, call me up, call me up. That $500,000 from winning the in-season tournament would go a long way for me. I got a lot of student debt. Please, please, please. And I see you're wearing Through the Wire. Big
Yeah,
episode.
we've talked about him a little bit on the podcast before. I have the poster behind me that we got signed when we saw their live show in Vegas visiting the summer league, which I have my hat on right now. But I remember a couple of podcasts ago I mentioned that like I hadn't listened to them that much recently, and
Yeah,
not because they're not a good podcast or I don't like them anymore. I just don't want. I feel like the format is similar. It's very like opinionated, and I don't
yeah,
want to listen to their opinions and like absorb them and then just regurgitate them. I'd rather form my own opinions
absolutely. Yeah.
and say that. So
I get
uh,
that. I've also kind of pushed away from like too many opinionated podcasts or something just because I like to, like you said, form my own opinions on something. Usually I'll watch or listen to it after a game so I can, already like I listen to a Lakers podcast sometimes, but usually I only listen to it after I watch the game and I'm like I think what I already think and then they like will add on to that. Makes sense. So I know like the big thing that happened this week in the NBA was the in-season tournament, but I know we have some
it's done.
updates on the Rockets. It's done. In-season tournament is done. I know we are going to talk about your Rockets update. We're going to save my update because we're going to talk about the Lakers a bit because they won the in-season tournament. We're going to say
Spoilers.
spoilers. This episode is going to be called "The Lakers are the Champions of the World," and I don't want you to say you can't name it that.
Is that what I have to call it?
No, we'll think about it. We'll think
I
of
was
something
thinking,
better.
I was thinking, I was thinking the format before this game, it was like going to be Pacers or Lakers, and it was going to be like blank won the in-season tournament. Doesn't matter. That was going to be like,
That's actually not a bad one either. Like Lakers won, who cares?
it's like it's the long-term impact where what is it? But yeah, we talked about the group stage last time, and then we had the
Yeah,
knockout rounds this week. So we're definitely gonna get to that. That'll be kind of the primary thing we're talking about this episode.
yeah,
Um, but first, let me go to the Rockets real quick.
yeah,
No
for
in-season
sure.
action for them. They're trash. And then we'll do a little around the league aside from the in-season tournament, then we'll dive in. So, the Rockets on Friday won their first road game of the year. They're
Wow. I
they're now
saw that.
1-8 on the road.
That's correct. I remember reading that they were undefeated. They were undefeated at home for a while, and then they were lost every game on the road. So it's
Yeah.
nice to see that,
That
they
red
could win,
city jersey court really threw people off, probably.
I guess.
Um,
Yeah.
oh, the Nuggets, they beat the Nuggets, and the Nuggets were fully healthy. They had Jokic, they had Jamal Murray, they had MPJ, they had Aaron Gordon, but we still won. So I mean, I was happy with the win. Um,
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, also, I mean, Clippers beat the Nuggets too. Seems like they're on I haven't watched these games, so I don't know what was
I
happening.
do know I saw a stat that was like in a and maybe it was that exact 2 game stretch, the Rockets and Clippers, Jokic is shooting like 31% from the field or something.
Yeah, I did see like his stats from the Clippers game. He missed like every shot. And it wasn't like they were suffocating him on defense. He just was not being efficient for whatever reason. So,
Which I think is
but
interesting because it's like people are, oh look, he's struggling, he's
he's
falling apart.
human. He's
Yeah.
human. I was like, oh wow, you have a bad game here and there. But that's cool. I'm very happy for the Rockets. Did anyone like shine really, really well in the game that really made them
Um,
win?
not I mean the Nuggets game, it was Fred and Jalen. They both had like 25 plus and assist rebounds and such.
Nice.
Um, and then we beat the Thunder not too long ago, which that team's doing pretty good this year. Aaron Holiday had a really good game off the bench
I
for
saw
the
that. Yeah,
Rockets,
that's crazy. Yeah.
so that was nice to see. Yeah, I think the Rockets, there's not much like new information to really throw out there. I think we're kind of coming back to earth after having that 6 game win streak. We're being competitive, but we're not like winning 5, 6 in a row anymore. We're kind of doing the thing the Hawks did a couple years ago, where it's like win, lose, win, lose. Um, you remember that? It was
Yeah, I
like
do.
28 games, the Hawks were 14-14, 26 games, they were 13-13, 24 games, they were 12-12. Like they kept winning and losing in that
It was a crazy
flip
stat.
flopping. It
Yeah.
was wild. The only thing I'll touch on with the Rockets, Amin is in the G League and he's doing really well. Um, and he needs to get back up to the NBA and play NBA minutes. And Cam Whitmore needs to play NBA minutes. Both of them have not played a lot this season. Um,
They're
Cam
so
Whitmore,
good.
I
Yeah.
had a note, and this guy could have been a top 5 pick. He fell to 20 with some injury concerns and such, but in the Thunder game that we won, he didn't play. And then the other guys in the Rockets didn't play were Nate Williams, Nate Hinton, Jermaine Samuels, and Jock Landale. And it was like, yeah, those sound like some end of the bench guys. I have no idea who half those guys are. I mean, I know because Rockets, we watch them in summer league. Most of those guys are on the
Right.
summer league roster, but um, the like summer league MVP, like the top 5, potential top 5 pick that fell that has shown really good in flashes. Why is he not playing? I don't get it. So
Yeah. I don't know. Is it because, so you have Jalen Green, you have Fred Van Fleet, and then I guess you drafted him in Thompson higher, so you kind of want him to be running more point. Because Cam's more of a point guard, right? Than like a shooting guard.
Cam Whitmore,
Yeah.
that guy's like a small forward. He's like 6'7".
What?
Yeah.
Okay. I want this to be known. I'm not crazy. At summer league, I swear I thought he was a point guard. I thought he was playing point guard the whole
I
time.
mean, I feel like we didn't have a lot of traditional point guard minutes on the summer league roster after Amin went out with the injury. So
Yeah.
definitely could be like a Paul George Kawhi thing where he's like the small forward, but he's just handling the ball.
Okay, super interesting. So that makes less sense to me than like exactly they should pull him up. I thought it was a guard this whole time. I thought it was like a point guard. I'm like, oh, we got a lot of those.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
forwards, I mean,
same
you can.
issues that happen with, Josh Christopher and Ty Ty Washington, guys that are no longer on the team where they just didn't play him, so they didn't know, and then they just got rid of him for no reason. I think
I really hope that
Amin and
doesn't
Cam both
happen.
can be too
Yeah.
good for that treatment.
Yeah, absolutely. I really hope that doesn't happen. I like them a lot. Um,
Part of it's probably because, Ime Udoka, he's a winning coach. He wants to win. He's playing, veteran guys mostly. I don't know. We'll see.
okay, well, hey, they're doing good in the G League. That's glad to hear.
I actually just had an email notification pop up on my phone. 9 straight home runs for the Rockets. So
That's awesome. Hey, and also I think we're going to see Pacers Rockets too. So,
Pacers
runner
Rockets or a
ups.
game after. I still have to figure out because I'm going to be 6 hours away from Houston on
Oh, right,
Christmas
right,
Day.
right, right, right. Well, we'll figure it out.
So it's like if the day after I drive straight to the game, perhaps we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll figure it out. But I can't wait to
Bring
watch some
Mason
more
with us
Rockets.
so he can shoot us, and then we can have like a side episode.
Oh yeah, just you just like not watch the game, but just shoot us the entire time. That'd be funny. But yeah, anything else you want to touch on the Rockets?
No, that was it with them.
Do they
They're
still have a winning record? Or are they?
oh, it's close. It's close. I
Yeah,
think so though. I think they're like 12-8. Um, I put Rockets winner instead of Rockets record.
Rockets are
10 and
winners.
9. Yeah. Okay. So
Okay, cool, cool. That's what I thought. That they're not like a losing record. They're not the bottom. There's
they're
worse
the
teams.
8 seed, right above the Clippers.
Yeah, El Clippers are 11-10 now, which makes me sad. They had a losing record for a nice time, for a nice long time. But yeah, well, since we talked about the Clippers, I'll mention that actually no, we're not going to talk about that game just yet. I was going to mention because I thought it was earlier this week, but it just
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But first bit of news. I read this, but I know you put more details. Is that Levine's going to be out for what, about 3 to 4 weeks is what it says. Inflammation in the foot. Sounds awful.
My
But
question, is it real? That's my question.
you really think that they're just kind of like, oh, we want to move him,
I feel
so
like they're milking it. I feel like he went out with like a very minor thing, and then all of a sudden it was like, all right, actually it's a month. It's like what?
yeah, well, I guess I could see that tactic. Plus, like they don't want his stock to go any lower. So he's like, if he does have a little bit of an injury but he's like fine to play, it's like maybe he won't play as good as he could. So we'll hold him and see what trades, explore whatever they
Let me
can
tell you, his
do.
stock is going lower because the Bulls are 4-0 since he's been out.
Yeah, I know. Oh, actually, I didn't know that. That's awesome. I know Kobe White's been doing pretty good. I
Yeah,
did see some of that stuff. But yeah, that would be crazy. I don't like when teams do that, and I think players, if they can play, should be playing. But you
yeah. With the
know,
new injury stuff, resting stars and national games and the 65 game threshold for awards, probably less likely. I just like when I read it, I was like, really now, interesting.
it is one of those things that you read and you're like, I wonder if this is a tactic or if his foot is really like inflamed and hurts and stuff. So,
Yeah,
um, and also just because I know a little bit about this stuff, that's why I'm touching on it.
go ahead.
I did see that Luca is still doing MVP things. Luca MVP is still that's what I want this year. It's about time.
Yeah, yeah.
He had a 30-point triple double in the first half against the Jazz. And I didn't know that they ended up winning by 50. Insane.
Beat him by 50, crush him.
Insanity.
The Jazz
But
have some bad losses.
yeah. Yeah, they do. And we don't talk about the one really bad Lakers loss because they won the in-season tournament. So
That's right. Everything else
that's
doesn't
all right.
matter.
Everything else doesn't matter. All that ever mattered was the in-season tournament. Let's just
Yeah,
be honest.
that's you're right. A couple other great games to touch on. I think this was all on the 6th a couple days ago. Embiid had 50, 13, and 7, and they barely beat the Wizards. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm not sure. Having a almost a 50-point triple double and barely beating like the second worst team in the NBA is not a great sign. But they won. A win is a win. Um,
Yeah, I just feel like they need to probably work on their defense. Is probably what it was. They were probably getting carried away with how many points they were scoring.
yeah.
Would be
Jordan
my
Poole
assumption.
and Kyle Kuzma, the unstoppable offense.
The greatest two-man game ever is Jordan Poole and Kyle
Second,
Kuzma.
second, you forget. David Adam is the greatest two-man game ever.
Duh, how could I forget? Absolutely never. And then but yeah, I mean, I think on the Kia MVP ladder, I think Embiid is now number one, then Jokic, then Luca, which I think is crazy. Um, because like to consider what Luca's doing with the
What's the
team he
Dom MVP
has.
ladder?
I would okay. This is a great question. So it's LeBron. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Luca number one, I think for sure. I would probably want to have Jokic is there, but I think he'd probably be number three for me right now. Um, but if I'm thinking of like another player that's like really, carrying a team, I mean, I don't know. Do you have a different one?
I
I
don't
feel
think
like
I can provide a top three order, but if I were to say top five and you had Luca, Embiid, Jokic, I think that's fair.
like yeah, I was
I would
like
throw
Tatum. I was thinking
Shea on there.
Shea. That's a good one. I
That
like
guy's
that
having
one.
another monster season.
Yeah, Tatum's
Tatum,
doing
yeah.
well, but he didn't. I like his in season tournament. Like I think when the comes like for them to show out. Like he has like issues, and we'll talk about it a little bit when we talk about the in-season tournament.
Much
But
to my chagrin, I may have to throw like KD or Booker on there. Both of those guys have been
they
carrying that
are
team when they're playing.
they are playing out of their minds. But yeah, I mean, so Embiid getting a 50-point game is crazy, but I mean they won, which they should have. So
Yeah,
good for them.
they beat the mighty Wizards.
The
Um,
mighty Wizards.
and then Desmond Bane also had a huge game, 49 to 8 and 6, which is great to see when, Ja is still out and they won over the mighty Detroit Pistons.
Oh man, what a
And
disappointment.
a quick side note, I think I sent you this. Jaden Ivey, 11th player to touch the floor for the Pistons that game. Didn't get on the court until the second quarter. So
Weird.
it's just I don't know if it's a Monty Williams thing. I don't know what's going on. I just feel like last year he had such a good rookie year, and this year he's being underutilized and inconsistently utilized, which I feel like will certainly stunt a young player's growth when they're kind of in and out like that.
Yeah, one of the games I saw with the Pistons playing, just because I was interested, was that their whole offense was running through Cade, and I think that's the whole thing, and they're relying too much on him, and he's just not that kind of player now. When he's on the bench, they're like, "All right, Jaden, Killian Hayes, do your thing," and they're
Right.
like, "All right, well, we don't practice us doing our thing. Like you just have Cade running everything." So that's when it like gets really hard to. I don't want to say hard to watch, but it's hard to like. They don't know exactly what to do without like an engine on the floor.
I mean, I feel like it can't be that hard to get Jaden Ivey more involved off ball as well.
I agree.
he doesn't have to be a ball. I mean, you look at this is obviously an extreme example, but you look at Luca and Kyrie. It's like Kyrie is still very useful when Luca has the ball. He has softball time, and then when Luca checks out, he's still on the court. Then he kind of he kind of gets on the court and does his thing as the ball handler. So he does a little bit of
Yeah.
both.
I think when he gets old, like I really hope that they obviously utilize him more because I really do like Jaden Ivey. I think that the more time happens, the more experience he'll get with doing moving off ball stuff, doing cuts. He's really quick, so he's really be really good at that. So, I'm still gonna be watching some Pistons basketball, probably not as much as some people. I might honestly go see Pistons Lakers because it will be one of the cheaper games to go to. Only $80 probably. So we'll see about that. But I'm very interested by them, and it, you know, all teams at some point go through like this just kind of weird. I mean, 19. I think they haven't lost. Have they lost 19 games? I think they're at 19.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're 2-19.
Oh Lord have mercy. So all teams go through a 19 game losing streak at some point, right?
I'm sorry, they're two
Um,
and 20 after their 19th straight. Yeah, the 19th straight loss. 2-1,
okay.
2-20.
Respect, respect, respect.
Shout
Not
out
just
Jared.
anyone can do that. Shout out. Shout out. Not just anyone can do that. So good for the Pistons. But that is weird that they didn't play him. I wonder maybe he had like an injury thing or I like to give the benefit of a doubt to a player, but maybe they wanted to try some other lineups. Um and then you I know you want to talk about this guy, Brooklyn Nets.
Oh yeah.
You want to talk about
Yeah, so I was watching just the end of this game, and
yeah.
it was a 2-point game. Trey Young with like 30 or so seconds left, maybe. Actually, it was way less than that. It was like 22 seconds left.
Yeah.
Hit like a three.
Ice
Actually,
cold,
it's
baby.
15 seconds left. I have it written on the note. 15 seconds left.
Yeah.
He hit a three, put the Hawks up by one. It was like okay, the crowd was getting into it. Trey Young was, you know, celebrating as he does, and then Mikal got the ball. Mikal Bridges came up the court, and just hit like a elbow fading mid range two with like 4 or 5 seconds left. So there's still time, but the Hawks didn't convert. So it was kind of like, clutch time basketball, shot and then shot. You like to see that. Fun game overall, I think. You like having
Yeah.
the close competitive games throughout.
Oh yeah, no, I love that. And also, between teams that are, they are trying to fight for a play in or maybe bottom of the playoff spots, right? So it's like all games like this matter. And just love seeing the Brooklyn Nets still trying to compete. Mikal Bridges playing really well, Trey Young doing Trey Young things. So I also love that he got a game winner. I don't know if Mikal Bridges has a game winner yet,
Yeah, wasn't
but
quite the a buzzer beater, but
right, but still, because of that shot, they won the game. So
yeah,
still pretty cool to say. Um, And then so now do we want to talk about you can also talk about the Heat. I don't know much about the Miami Heat right now.
Yeah, the last thing I wanted to touch on was Jaime Jaquez from, who he went to?
Yes, UCLA.
UCLA, yeah,
Mhm.
UCLA. And it's just an example of the Heat. They kind of do this every year. They find guys that I think fit the win now culture of the Heat.
Yeah.
And he's been that guy for them. He's been, lately he's been like a really good contributor, big in their wins. And just wanted to touch very quickly, and because I feel like he's a guy we probably should have talked about before as like a, like when we did thanks or something like that. He's just been good for them this season, kind of filling in the gaps of the players they lost this offseason, and holding the fort down when Jimmy or Bam is out as well. So good on him. And of course, Hero has been out too. So they got
Mm,
less and less guys, and he has been one of the guys that has been a positive impact for them.
I love to
Drafting
hear
now
that.
players.
Yeah, well, he definitely looked like I remember watching a little bit of UCLA basketball toward the end of the year, and he definitely seemed like an NBA ready player, compared to some of the other guys in the draft. I know like the Lakers drafted Jalen Hood-Schifino and that before Jaime Jaquez, and I liked him quite a bit. I wondered why he went kind of late. I think a lot of teams wanted to have like developmental pieces, but the Heat always do so well in the draft, so they got a good guy with him, and I'm glad to hear that. Like I said, I haven't watched a lot of Heat basketball, but I've seen him in some highlights. Doing making good plays and good
He's got
moves
great hair.
and great hair.
Wears a headband. I mean,
Gotta
we
love
love
the
it.
hair. Oh, absolutely love it. And then so next we're going to talk about a little bit about December 8th. There's some games that day, which I talked about a little bit earlier. I saw this. Kawhi with a 3-point floater, taking a note out of Luca's book from like 3 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, he had a 41-point game against the Jazz. I mean, it's the Jazz, but they
vintage.
won. Yeah. But Kawhi's looking more like himself. I know so I went to go see them live. He was still very good on defense, and what I've noticed is his defense is there. But offensively, like it's been designated more to Paul George or James Harden or Russ off the bench. And Kawhi's still making like 20 points, but didn't seem like he was the player he was before his injury. But I mean, now you can see he could do it. Granted against the Jazz, but still he can do it. It's still in his like power. So love to see that.
Yeah, and I wanted to just highlight that because I thought like you need that for the Clippers if you
Mhm.
want any hope. And yeah, I mentioned I
Absolutely.
was at the holiday staff party this weekend. It was on this day, so I didn't watch any of these games. This was all revisiting after the fact. And the what I would say is maybe the most important thing I saw was Scotty Barnes having a 30-point triple double and losing to the Hornets without LaMelo. Um,
That's crazy.
blow it up,
I
guys.
didn't
What are we
know
doing?
that.
I mean,
Trade
come
LaMelo,
on
trade
now.
LaMelo. Come on, trade. You don't need him. Trade him.
No,
Um,
not the Raptors. They lost to the Hornets without
yeah,
LaMelo.
I know, but
It's over.
they don't need LaMelo either. So you get rid of him too.
Uh,
No,
yeah,
but
that's crazy.
that is crazy because the Raptors seem like a team that would fight. I mean, I saw them fight back against the Spurs, so I wonder like what went wrong. It's a game I would watch, like go back and watch just because I'd be
Yeah,
curious to see what happened exactly.
two teams that won't matter in the grand scheme of things this season.
Yeah, that's for sure. But this next game
Did
was
you watch any
probably
of this game?
I did not watch any of this game.
Do you know what happened at the end?
No.
All right, so the Thunder they beat the Warriors in OT. It was
Okay.
a great game from Shea and J Dub offensively, and how the game ended was Steph was trying to take a buzzer beater three, trying to get around the screen and just how he does. He's 5 feet
Yeah.
behind the line, just kind of hubs it up there, whatever. And J Dub completely stuffed him. Like
Wow.
he really didn't even get the shot off, and the game just kind of ended sadly for the Warriors. After a good game from Steph, Clay, and Kuminga had a good game, like 20 plus off the bench.
Oh, nice. Wait, so is Clay playing better
Yeah, he
more
had like
recently?
22, 4, and 3, like a
Okay.
fine Clay Thompson game. Not
Yeah.
um yeah, he didn't shoot like 18 shots and make two of them like he does sometimes.
Right.
But it's just a highlight for the Thunder beating a good team, the Warriors. I think we both thought they were going to be pretty good coming into the year, but so
Yeah.
far they've struggled. We talked about that during the panic meter. They've had a rough go of it. Um, but yeah, I think the Thunder. I feel like a lot of people see the season they're having. I think we both had them at like the 7th seed or something like that in the
Something like
West.
that. Yeah.
And I think we expect them to be good. Some people expect them to be really good, and I think we're seeing it. A lot of people had their doubts, thought they were overhyped, but they're beating established teams. I won't call the Warriors a good team. I'll call them an established team. Um, and they're like 14-7, so they are close to
Second, second in the West right
yeah
now.
close to the top. Only the mighty four-loss Minnesota Timberwolves, 17-4.
Crazy.
Are atop the West. Yeah, those guys have been. I mean, there's a lot more games on this day, but a lot of them were kind of like went how I expected. Like I think it was like the Timberwolves beat the Grizzlies. I'm like, yep,
Yep,
that sounds about
sounds about
right.
right. Yeah, yeah. I'm actually looking at the standings for the first time like all week because I just been watching the in-season tournament too much, and I forgot that most of those games count. The only game that didn't count was the
Was
final.
the finals, yeah. And I mean
Yes.
the Celtics and Knicks played yesterday the loser bracket of the East, I guess. And
Yeah.
the Kings played the Suns as well.
Oh, is that really happened?
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't know they had a losers bracket.
I don't know if it's like a losers bracket, but it's like the teams that lost in the first round because the games count towards the regular season. They
Yeah.
just played each other, uh, as the teams that won played each other in like the conference finals or whatever, the in-season tournament.
Oh, I didn't even know who won those games. Who
So
won
like
those
the
games?
Kings beat the Suns and the Celtics beat the Knicks.
Yeah, that sounds about right. um, Kings beating the Suns though is cool. So they can beat the Suns, but not the Pelicans.
They
Weird.
didn't have KD, I will say that.
Oh, okay. That happens. But yeah, I think that's everything about like the league. I know the last big thing we're gonna talk about right now is the in-season tournament. So like we mentioned last week, Damon watched the Eastern Conference games.
Yeah.
I watched the Western Conference games. I caught most of them or most parts of them. If I didn't finish it, I went back and reviewed it and looked up, some stats and things like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I
but
watched most of the Western Conference ones too.
yeah, and I actually, it was funny. The Eastern Conference games matched up better with my time. It was right when I got off work, so I could listen to it while I'm driving home before I go out for the night. So, I actually caught a little bit of the Eastern Conference games too. But I think first we want to talk about Pacers Celtics.
We watched basketball.
Yeah, we
Um,
watch basketball. What can we say?
yeah, Pacers Celtics. This started at as I got off work. On Tuesday. Is that the day it was? I got off work at 6:30. It started at
Monday.
6:30 Monday. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Something I wanted to highlight from the Pacers real quick. I saw a thing. I like didn't notice this, but the Pacers have the 8th, 10th, 12th, and 14th pick from the 2020 draft on their roster, which I think is interesting. And none of them were drafted by the Pacers. So Obi Toppin, of course, the 8th overall pick from the Knicks. Uh, the 10th overall pick was Jalen Smith from
Jalen
the
Smith,
Suns.
right?
And then Halliburton was the 12th overall pick of the Kings. And then
Crazy 12th. Crazy 12th.
Aaron Nesmith was the 14th pick by the
Celtics, right?
Celtics. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like they acquired just the 2020 draft on their roster and didn't actually draft any of them, which I thought was funny.
That's funny.
Yeah, Pacers Celtics. I think this is a pretty good game. I think I watched the whole thing, or I listened as I was driving home, and then I was cooking dinner and watching and listening as well. It was pretty close and competitive all the way through. I think the biggest lead I had kind of noticed was early on in the first quarter. The Celtics were up 11-3, and then after that, it was back and forth mostly
Mhm.
as the game went on. Celtics did start to pull away in the second quarter. I think they went in a half up by 7. Um, Derek White. First of all, bald Derek White, I thought would be a good idea. He looks terrifying. Um,
Yeah, but also the hairline was also like it's
yeah, the
like
hairline was bad, so that's why he did it. But he looked so weird. Like I was watching, I was like, God, this guy, he doesn't look like a basketball player. He looks
did he have a headband at least?
no, it's just bald and
Oh,
beard,
Derek, put
and
on
a
a
very big
headband.
beard. But man, he was killing the Pacers in the first half. He
Oh,
was
nice.
doing a lot of like off ball cutting, getting easy layups, playing good defense. Um, excuse me, making good shots, good threes, I think as well. Um, Jaylen Brown also had a good first half defensively against Halliburton. He was matched up against him a lot, kind of trying to prevent him from doing stuff. Second half, he kind of disappeared. Same with Derek White. Tatum, however, in the second half, it was kind of the opposite. In the first half, he didn't do much. The second half, he started, or the second quarter rather, he started doing very well. He was the Celtics as a whole were doing a lot of hunting of Tyrese Halliburton, because of course Halliburton's going to be on the court for the offense, but his defense is a little lackluster. His very skinny frame. Um, so they were doing a lot of ball screens to get Halliburton in isolation because the Celtics, their core guys play a lot of ISO ball.
Yeah.
And they're just picking on him on defense, getting to the basket, hitting layups over him. Not a ton he could do. Um, Tyrese had a rough first half. Like I said, they're hunting him on defense, and then on offense, he was kind of against Derek White and Brown and all those guys. But in the third, he came alive. Had his first career triple double in this game, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, awesome.
Surprised
Yeah.
he hadn't
I,
had one before.
yeah, that is crazy actually.
But in the third, he just started getting what he wants, started getting to the basket, started getting open shots, and setting up his guys, and his guys were making the shots. And then he ended up clutching the game out with a 4-point play. He got a switch on the Jaylen Brown, I think, shot a three, got fouled, made the three, made the free throw. Um, and yeah, those are plays you love to see in an environment like the in-season tournament.
Yeah, and
Uh,
also nationally broadcast. So now, if you didn't watch Pacers basketball before, maybe you watch some Pacers basketball now, which is very
yeah,
cool.
and the I think part of the success for him setting up his offense, you got Buddy Hield, you got Benedict Mathurin, you got Aaron Nesmith all making shots, and those guys making shots, the Pacers are really hard to stop because Halliburton would often get the attention of two, and then somebody is open, and he's pretty good at finding that open person. Um, so yeah, it was a good game. It was a lot of hustle, a lot of heart. I think both of us predicted the Pacers would show up to the tournament like this with caring a lot, and I think that was very evident. And I think a big reason the Celtics lost this game was because their half-court offense was kind of a disaster, especially in the second half. We talked about ISO ball. That's kind of how they do it. There's not a ton of playmaking. So if Tatum and Brown are not hitting those hard one-on-one shots, it's like they're not getting a ton of offensive production.
Yeah.
Um, and like something I wanted to highlight too is the first half was a really good game for Luke Cornett. Second half was pretty good for Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard. Um, that's not great for your team that's trying to win the finals. If those guys are like, people you're relying on to have minutes in a game like this, that is a little more important than like a regular season game, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
And
it,
remind me, Porzingis was on the bench, right? He didn't play.
Porzingis was out. He was
Yeah.
yeah, he was injured. Holiday
Okay.
played. You couldn't tell because he didn't do
I
much.
was gonna say, like, I don't remember any plays that Holiday did really.
I mean,
So
he had some good defense on Halliburton as well. Like they kind of
yeah,
shuffled their defenders onto him. But offensively, he didn't do a ton. Um,
gotcha.
and oh, I wanted to say, not specifically to this game, but we talked about this a little bit last time. Adam Silver, the guy's a genius. I think the season tournament worked out really well. I think the knockout stage was even more exciting than group play.
Yeah.
So good on him. Good on the NBA. In November, December, we're here caring about these games, and I think that was the ultimate goal. So, uh,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was just fun to, give a reason why like I'm watching basketball. Someone would say like, "Why are you like going home to watch this basketball game? Like, didn't the season just start?" I'm like, "Well, little do you know, there's a tournament this year." And I explained the tournament to many people. But they're like, "Oh, that seems cool." I was like, "Yeah, it
you're
is
like
pretty cool."
promoting for Adam Silver.
Yeah, he should hire me. I know you're listening, Adam. I'll do it. I'm available. But yeah, so Pacers ended up winning by 10, right? I have the score. Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of pulled away after that 4-point play at the end.
Yeah. I remember watching the very end and I was like, that was just so happy for that young Pacers team.
Yeah.
Very cool to see. The second game of that first knockout stage was Pelicans Kings. And I know we both had the Kings winning this game.
Yeah, I just
Interestingly enough,
did not go that way.
it did not go that way. So our bracket was ruined almost immediately.
Yeah, one game in.
So one game in, yeah. So I watched this game, basically the entire game. So the first quarter was actually insane because the Kings made every single shot. It seemed like they were just throwing up threes from behind the arc. Keegan Murray started 3 for 3 from three.
He went
Malik
out,
Monk,
right?
yeah, he went out at some point. I think like in the second quarter, and I think he came back, but it just wasn't like basically the Kings in the first quarter were insane on offense. Like they were
Right.
they did not like I think that they ended up with like 35 points in the first quarter and they were winning by by I think it was 35 to 14 at one point.
Yeah,
But what
yeah,
was
yeah.
insane is that the Pelicans uh came back and fought to only be down by one at the end of the first quarter. And it all ended with a really awesome Herb Jones follow-up free throw that I forgot who took the free. I think BI took the free throw. He missed, and then Herb Jones like jumped, caught it with one hand, threw it up, the buzzer went off, and then it went in. So it counted as two, you know. So they're only down by one. So that was really, really cool to see coming from the Pelicans who McCollum's back also. Trey Murphy's back, which really helps them out.
I think
And
a big emphasis of that comeback was Najee Marshall, Jose Alvarado off the bench. A lot of defense, a lot of hustle plays that went into easy, points on the other end, I think.
that was my next note. So
Oh,
thank you
I'm
for saying
sorry.
that. Pels had momentum going into the second half. Alvarado and Najee Marshall brought defensive intensity. That was my word for word.
I
Yeah,
stole the
no,
thunder. I'm sorry.
no, you're totally fine. But yeah, that is very obvious too that going into the second half, the Pelicans just felt like they were wanting it more and the Kings just couldn't make shots. They made a run at the end of the third, but BI just couldn't be stopped. Like Brandon Ingram was just making all the shots that he wanted to at the elbow and getting to the line. By the end of the third, the Kings were down by 9. And they kept doing these runs in the fourth quarter, getting close, like only down by 5, timeout, and then they would get down by like 11, come back, be down by 4, and then you know Pelicans take a timeout and come back, and just ultimately they just couldn't overcome the Pelicans and their defense. Besides Alvarado and Najee Marshall, Herb Jones and Trey Murphy played really, really well on both ends of the court. And I mean, if all your role players are doing what they need to do, and then BI is making his shots, Zion is getting to the rim at will. I thought it was really interesting. I was watching Valanciunas versus Sabonis a lot. My,
The
Lithuanian
Lithuanian.
brothers.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's so funny. My mom actually tuned in to watch. This is her first time watching basketball on TV in probably like 12 years. Like it's
wow.
insane. Yeah. So she tuned in. I thought that matchup was interesting because Valanciunas is more of a bruiser, just kind of back you down. But Sabonis was fighting a lot too. Like there's a lot back and forth down low, but ultimately the wing defense just was able to stop Fox and Monk from getting too much going. Like they did well, but it just was not enough. And the Pelicans came out on top by 10. It was a fun game, but
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. You uh barely mentioned Zion, and I think a big reason is because he had like 10 points. He
yeah,
didn't do
he
like a ton.
he didn't do a ton. And like if you're winning games and he doesn't need to do a ton, I think that's a good thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he has games, I think I can't remember. I mean, the Lakers game, but we're gonna get to was just
Eh.
that is not ineffective. But I mean, he'll have games where he gets up to 30, and I mean, he had like the third best field goal percentage in the league because he just gets to the rim.
He's just
Goes
shooting
to his
layups. Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, he just wasn't needed as much to kind of like turn on, the turbos and just go to the lay it up. And I think a big part of that was BI is doing what he needs to do. I think Zion sat out for a lot of it. Your role players are doing what they need to do, making shots. So might as well just rest and get ready for the next game if you know you're gonna win. So
For me, this game was like the Kings are a bike that is a cruiser. But so it's just like it's just going at the same kind of pace, steady pace, doing the same thing. Whereas the Pelicans were like they're like a mountain bike. They were gears and they were kicking it into high gear at moments in the game, and the Kings just couldn't catch up.
yeah,
Um,
that actually makes a lot of sense to me. Also, a lot of the Kings like role players that did really well like against the Warriors coming into the in-season tournament, just didn't show up. I can't remember the guy's name, the Serbian guy who's on the
Sasha Vujnikov, or yeah, whatever that
yeah,
guy's name is.
Bonagov, or yeah. He played quite a few minutes because he did really well against the Warriors, and I think he ended up with like 3 points or
Every time I
something.
watch that guy, he does not do anything. So I just must be
Yeah,
watching the
so
wrong games.
yeah, the Kings like have people. I know Davion Mitchell's been out for a bit, but they had Ellis coming off of the
Well, I think
bench, and
Davion Mitchell has been like benched essentially for Keon Ellis, which is interesting.
it is interesting. But I guess Ellis, he can make some shots, and Davion Mitchell's still working on his 3-point shot, so he's not really like a stretch um guard. But I don't think there was anything. I think you said it best. Like the Pelicans were able to kind of kick it into another gear when needed, and the Kings would, like I said, have these faux runs that they just couldn't capitalize on. And the Pelicans at full power, they're a scary team, but not scary for my Lakers. But we're not going to talk about that right now.
Or we'll get into that one. That was not a good look.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Worth mentioning, Pelicans had a 14 points in the paint advantage that game. You mentioned Zion
yeah,
getting
yeah.
to the rim at
And
will,
then
and other
yeah.
guy at Valanciunas as well. Him and Sabonis very very chippy physical that game.
They were, yeah, which is so funny because they are friends, and like you could see
Yeah.
them like laughing with each or like talking in between plays with them when the ball's in the hands. They're like, I don't like. There was like some elbows being thrown, and like Valanciunas, I think, got the wind knocked out of him at one point, and like,
Sabonis does that. He does it like every game. He
yeah,
just kind of
yeah,
beats up the other guy, and the refs don't
yeah,
typically call it, which is interesting.
yeah. I mean, as long as you're not going for the elbow above the chin, above the neck or anything, like it does seem like a very basketball move that you're trying to move, but as long as you're not extending it, I think that's the thing, right? Like,
Yeah,
you can't help what's there. Not saying that he doesn't do it on purpose, because sometimes maybe, but
he
like
does.
it
He
is
definitely
very
does.
it is a very like, I get out of the way, I'm gonna use this to get you out of my way. So
So our Western Finals pick, the Kings, immediately eliminated. Not great for us.
not great for us, yeah.
But
But the Pacers,
Pacers, they we'll get there. They made it.
we'll
They
get
made
there,
it.
we'll get there.
Um,
All right, so who we got next?
yeah. Next was the Bucks Knicks in the East. I gotta be honest, I was not looking forward to watching this game because I feel like both of these teams play a like kind of grimy, grinded out,
Yeah,
brand of basketball that I wasn't looking forward to watching. They totally surprised me though. The first note I have, fast paced the whole time, which I'm like, Bucks Knicks, am I watching the right game? Why is it so fast paced? I'm confused. They're moving in, both teams moving in transition, regardless of if the other team made or missed a shot, which I thought was interesting. Um, First quarter, 37-35. Second quarter, at halftime, 75-72. I mean, like
crazy.
high offense for these two teams that I feel like are both, kind of known as grinded out defensive teams.
Half court teams, yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. In the third quarter, the Bucks kind of started to pull away a bit. They had a lot of defense that led into easy offense. Transition points, of course. Giannis is one of the better transition players. I know I mentioned that. I was expecting more of a half court game, but that guy, 6'11", dribbling the ball up the court with the head of steam is hard to stop. But they were getting turnovers and missed shots and just running down the court. And he was doing a lot of kicking as well. He's kicking the shooters, and guys were making it. Their 3-point percentage, I don't have it off the top of my head here, but it was pretty good this game for the
Hmm.
Bucks. They were getting good shots from like AJ Green, who you've never heard of, Marjon Beauchamp, who has been
Who I have
pretty
heard
good for
of.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were doing pretty good in the third. They ended up third quarter, 112-96. So that's like an end of game score. And that was the end of the third quarter. And then fourth quarter, Knicks went on a 7-0 run to kind of start pulling it in, but then the Bucks just pulled away and it got out of hand towards the end. Um,
Yeah, ended up 146 and like 122 or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Notes I have about the Knicks specifically, I think early in the first quarter, RJ was being very aggressive. He was driving, he was getting to the line. And then after the first quarter, he disappeared from the game. He didn't exist anymore. Who did exist the whole game? Julius Randle had an amazing game. He started 9 for 9 this game.
Crazy.
Before he had his first miss. He's efficient. He's aggressive. By the mid third quarter, he had 30 already. Um, and he was doing his thing against Giannis, against Brook Lopez, against the guys that are known as good defenders. He was having a great game. Um, the role players, however, I think that's probably a big reason the Knicks lost this game. Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, Brunson, Villanova didn't show up. All those guys were on the same Villanova team.
Yeah, I was gonna say Villanova didn't show up. I was
Yeah,
gonna ask about Jalen Brunson. You haven't mentioned
yeah,
him.
he didn't
Mm.
do a ton. Quickly didn't do great either. Mitchell Robinson got in foul trouble as we
Yeah.
kind of I think we kind of predicted that when we were talking about the
Yeah, I mean
predictions.
it's you got Giannis, you got Brook Lopez. It's
Yeah,
like it's tough, like especially against Giannis. Like you really have to be careful.
like I feel like at least in the first half, the second best player in the Knicks was Isaiah Hartenstein. So it's like that's not a
Not
good look for you.
not a good
But
sign, especially if you're not winning. It's like
he was doing good, getting rebounds and making good passes on offense.
yeah,
But aside from that, yeah, a lot of guys were quiet. Um, Giannis, I think going back to the Bucks, had a pretty good game when he is running in transition, but he was doing this weird thing that Giannis has done for a couple of years where he has the ball, there's 20 seconds on the shot clock, and he's taking like a elbow mid-ranger. I'm like, that's not a Giannis thing. He's trying to be, Kevin Durant or whatever, and that's not in his game. So uh,
absolutely not.
that's literally why you have Damian Lillard. What are you doing?
Yeah. What do you
Um,
do? Or just go to the rim. Literally.
Speaking of Dame, going into halftime, scored 13 straight for the Bucks. So he started
Nice.
kind of getting hot there. Um, and he had a good second half as well. I think Middleton had a pretty good first half. He was making shots. Bobby Portis in the first half was having a lot of good offensive impact for them as well. And then, like I mentioned, they had their kind of role players, AJ Green, Andre Jackson. Guys were hitting shots for them. But
Hmm.
like I mentioned for the Celtics, I think it's a little worrisome if you have those guys getting crucial minutes, hitting important shots for when it comes playoff time, because those guys are, obviously not proven or anything. But
Yeah.
uh, all in all, I think a team, two teams I thought were relatively defensive, had both really good offensive games. I think the Bucks this season actually their defense has slid quite a bit with the absence of Drew Holiday, but their offense has been monstrous. Really hard to stop Dame and Giannis, and I feel like
Absolutely.
they still don't run enough pick and roll between those two. So
I did see them run it like once, and I was like, "Oh my god, they're doing it!" And they scored, and I was like, "This is incredible!" And they
yeah,
didn't do it again. It was
it's
happening.
it's like you go under, okay, you get a Dame three. You go over, okay, you get a Giannis,
The
at the
slam,
rim. So
yeah, poster exactly.
I feel like they could still add that. And when we do get into the actual playoffs later in the year, I feel like that half court offense has been a struggle for the Bucks in the postseason. So still a lot of regular season left. Maybe we'll see them start hashing out the pick and roll between them two. But
Yeah, that'd be awesome to see. And yeah, I didn't watch a ton of this game. I think I just caught the beginning. Actually, I remember what this was. I had the game on while I was in a meeting for work. So I was just like I had it on in front of me, but no like volume, just like, oh,
hopefully you have no one lit
cool.
from work listening to this. You'll get in trouble.
No, they don't know. Plus, I already did what I needed to do for the meeting, so you can't be mad at me. If you're listening work, I did everything. Yeah, I didn't catch a lot of it, but as we expected, Bucks beat the Knicks, which
Yeah.
makes sense. This next game that we're going to talk about, a whole lot more competitive, I'd say. At least that was my opinion of watching it.
I mean, it was like
Um,
107 to 104, right? A pretty low scoring for a 2023 game.
we are talking. Wait,
Like Lakers Suns.
yeah. Why did I just was like I thought we were on a different day already. Yes, we're talking about Lakers Suns. It was a low scoring game. I actually have some stats I want to ask you, and I
Okay.
want you to guess. Okay. For the Suns, you had their leading scorer, Kevin Durant, 31 points. Unstoppable. Like especially toward the end of the game. He was just daggers left and right. Okay. Devin Booker, 21 points.
That was literally gonna be my exact guess. I thought you were gonna ask me how much he scored, and I was gonna say 21. I don't know why.
Um, that well, you would have been correct.
Yeah,
Didn't really show up, got in foul trouble.
sure.
So he didn't play for a bit of the fourth quarter. Actually, quite a bit of it, and then they put him in once started getting a lot closer. But who is the third leading scorer for the Phoenix Suns?
Uh, I didn't watch a ton of this game, so I don't even
As
have any insight. Let's say Grayson Allen, 12 points.
you were right, it is Grayson Allen with 21
Oh
points.
wow.
This
Okay.
dude was 50% from three.
Wow.
He made all of the threes basically, it seemed like. So let me pull up my notes real
The
quick.
legend
So
Grayson Allen.
yeah, so before I get too much into it, because I did watch this one basically all the way through, and I caught the end, which was very I actually
I have some things to say about the end. I
okay.
watched the end of this game. I have some things to say about it.
Oh, okay. Is
We'll
it
get
about
there
the
though.
timeout and stuff?
It's about the timeout. Yeah.
Okay, okay. We'll get into that. But I watched this in a bar, like the end of the game, like the last 3 minutes in a bar in LA,
And it
and
was nuts.
it was fun. It was really fun to watch. Watch with some friends too. So in the first half,
Shout out
uh
friendship.
shout out friendship. The Lakers were winning by 12 at the half, and seems to be a trend with the Lakers. They'll do really well in the first half, come in the third quarter, and then not show up because I think the Suns went on like an 11-2 run or something, and then it was like a 3-point game. But I do want to highlight that Jared Vanderbilt is back for the Lakers,
Yes.
and he brought the
Yes.
energy defensively, and I think was responsible for kind of locking down Booker more than like you'd expect him to be,
Mhm.
besides the foul trouble. Also, the Suns had so many first half turnovers, and Lakers got so many offensive rebounds because Nurkic is just
F tier starting center.
Yusuf Nurkic, which was so funny because he also got in foul trouble, so he also sat out for quite a bit of it, and they relied on Eubanks, and guess who had more points? Drew Eubanks,
I like Drew
and
Eubanks. I like
I
how
like Drew
the
quite a
Suns
bit
just got
too.
both Blazers centers.
Yeah, that is so. They're like, we're gonna take them both. Um, and also, so I had another stat I want to talk about. Okay, so the Phoenix Suns attempted 75 field goals for the entire game. How many do you think the Lakers attempted?
96.
102.
Wow.
Great
Okay.
guess. They attempted almost 25, actually more than
That
25
that's a
shots.
great stat. I like that.
That is incredible. And but so it's so crazy is that so the 3 pointers were not falling for the Lakers. They were 30% from three.
That was a theme in this tournament, I feel.
Yes. And but that's just the theme. That's this Lakers team. It's crazy because like with the next game, Pelicans, positive regression happened, and then everything was falling. But then didn't happen again against the Pacers, but
Yeah.
we'll get to that. But the Lakers don't rely on their 3-point shooting, they more rely on their defense to get like, transition points and relying on AD and LeBron. But also those second chance points from all those offensive rebounds. They got 21 offensive rebounds in this game. And Suns were 48% from three.
Was that
So
mostly AD on the offensive glass or
yes, it was him and LeBron, I believe. I was to pull up the stats right now. I have the box score here. Anthony Davis ended with 27 points, 15 rebounds, 9 offensive, 6 defensive. And
wow.
then we had LeBron James with 8 rebounds in there, Vanderbilt with 6. Yeah, so Anthony Davis, LeBron James, second, 2 highest scorers for the Lakers. Who was the third highest scorer for the Lakers?
This is against the Suns.
Yeah,
I'll go D'Lo.
Austin Reeves.
Okay.
Austin Reeves is him off the bench. Off
Austin
the
Reeves
bench.
for I mean
Six man of the
for the
year.
championship. I mean
For the
we
championship,
yeah.
yeah. Six man of the year. So okay, let's talk about the double figures. And so I also noticed in the Suns game is that when LeBron was out, the offense was stagnant. Like what they've been doing is when LeBron is out, they've been having basically Austin Reeves run the offense,
Mhm.
which some games has worked really well, and Austin got his shots up. But then they can't stop the Suns, so then they would just go on a run again, and LeBron would have to come in to like, all right, guys, like let's get a lead again so I can
Let's
rest.
stop the bleeding.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last note I had for this game was Reeves is him because he made a 3-point dagger,
I
which
do remember that.
was like
Yeah.
the most important. I think with like 15 seconds left, they got a lead by 6 with that, and
Hmm.
then the Suns made it to a quick 2, and then this is when the inbounds play happened with the timeout, which has been a little controversial. So I want to hear your take because I haven't looked a lot into it, but I want to know what you think.
Okay, so
So
basically,
it's a setting it up. It's a 4 point game. There's like 9 seconds left. Lakers are inbounding the ball.
so the first thing I do want to say that I feel like isn't being pointed out rather, who did they inbound it to? Was it Austin Reeves? Right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So they inbounded to Austin Reeves. I do think he was fouled by Devin Booker. I think Devin Booker fouled him on the inbound. They didn't call a foul. Fine. Austin Reeves loses the ball, and it's like rolling across the floor. And then, in my perspective, as it's rolling across the floor, there's like a timeout for the Lakers. And I'm like, no one has the ball. How is there a timeout? I don't understand. So I thought that was maybe the foul should have been called. Um, but the timeout definitely should not have been granted. No one had the ball. How do you grant a timeout when no one has like clear possession of the ball? That didn't make any sense to me. I thought that was a clear like misplay on the ref's part there.
Yeah, I agree with you there. When I was watching it, I thought it was a late timeout call because how it happened. So Austin Reeves gets the ball, he has possession, takes a dribble, picks it up because Devin Booker's right there. Devin Booker's behind him, kind of pushing him. KD is there with his arms going crazy, going spider all over him. And then Austin Reeves falls, loses the ball, and then the whistle happens. So then they don't go for the ball, like the whistle happens. So I thought it was a foul because he fell, like you said. And then from, I guess what I thought is that when he had possession and picked it up, that's when the timeout was called, but I couldn't hear a whistle or they didn't hear the whistle. So I don't know when the whistle was called. So if it was called with the balls on the ground, obviously not possession.
Right.
If it was called when Austin just got it, timeout, that would have worked. But I don't think that's what happened. So it is a little,
And I mean,
and they
I
also
think
couldn't challenge it. So
late whistles are plaguing the NBA.
I do hate I hate that, especially when they like go for a layup, they make it, and then they like call a whistle. I'm like, you just like,
Yes. I
why
mean,
so late? Like,
I was going to talk about this in the Lakers Pacers game because I noticed it a lot in that game, but like
okay,
I noticed it a lot just in general in the NBA. You mentioned a make. I feel like a lot of times it happens on a miss as well. Like the refs see the balls miss and they say, "All right, now we'll call a whistle because that person didn't get the points." Um, and that's just so annoying. Like you call it when you see the foul. That's what it is. Don't
yeah,
determine the foul based on if the shot was made or missed. That doesn't make any sense.
absolutely. No,
Uh,
I don't like that.
and then the thing, like I said, I noticed a lot in Lakers Pacers, but I'll just mention it since we're kind of on the topic. One of my least favorite foul calls in the NBA, and I noticed it a lot in this game with Anthony Davis specifically, the fade away, like fall down mid range shot where the foul is called as the player's on the ground. I
You said
hate.
you noticed it during the Pacers game because I
Yeah,
do
like
remember
Anthony
that
Davis would,
call. Yeah,
would turn around, take a mid range shot, fall down. The shot's like already hit the rim and bounced out, already went in, and then they call a foul. And it's like, I don't get it. And most of the time, it's not a foul. Most of the time, it's the player is just falling back, shooting, and falls down. And the other player's just doing this. It's not. It's never like. It's almost never a foul. It happened a lot too when I saw the Kings, Pelicans, and Pacers. Kings, Pelicans, and Pacers. How did I say that?
how
Kings.
do you saw a 3 team game?
The Kings and Pelicans in New Orleans when I saw them live.
Oh yeah,
Um, and I think for that it was a lot of like Sabonis would do like a jump hook or something and then fall down. They would call foul, but it's just him jump hooking, falling down. No one like touches him. He just falls down. There are a lot of
yeah.
foul calls on people falling down when no one touches them. And it's really bothering me.
And you know why? It's because it's working. That's what I don't like. Because like
Yeah,
this isn't didn't happen as much like the previous seasons, but I've noticed it too. It's because they're like, oh, if I fall, or especially threes, like what I like is that sometimes they'll call the kick out, but they don't call like the flop itself as like an offensive foul, which I think they should too. It's
they were
like
supposed to start calling flops like technicals. I haven't seen that a lot.
I haven't seen it. I saw it in one game. I don't remember what it was,
I do
but
feel like maybe it's preventative. It's preventing flopping because people are afraid of the call, but I haven't seen the actual call a lot.
exactly. It's like, well, you gotta call like so sometimes it's so obvious too, especially like I see a lot in the corner. So someone will get the ball in the corner,
Mhm.
throw up the ball and then fall back, and like the defender is just standing like this with their hand up, and then they call a foul because like I guess the angle's hard,
It's
right?
like they
Because
don't
it's in the
see it. They
corner.
just say,
Yeah,
"Oh, the guy fell down, so he must have been fouled."
exactly.
Yeah,
So it's kind of like that. And like I'm not saying when they fall down they're kicking out, but they're falling down for no reason. So at least like no foul. You know what I mean?
I think
Um,
on this topic, when I was watching, I think it was Pelicans Kings, Jose Alvarado like goes around a screen. And then, like, I remember they challenged this too. De'Aaron Fox is like screening in the corner, and he goes around the screen. And Jose Alvarado goes, ugh, like holds his face and like trips, and they call a foul. The Kings challenge it, and it doesn't get overturned. And
I
it was like
remember
so
that.
clear that De'Aaron Fox did not foul him. I was like, what? This is
Darren Fox
dumb.
was totally still, and then I think Jose Alvarado kind of like hits his hip against like his arm, but he's standing. Darren Fox is like this, and then he goes and grabs his face. Like his face was like 3 inches away from any part of his body,
Yeah,
and it was so obvious in the replay, and they didn't overturn it. I know exactly what you said. It was just I could not believe that. That was I don't get it. Like what are you teaching these players? You're teaching them, oh, I can do this and get away with it,
right.
which is not fun. Regardless, Reeves is him and the Lakers win.
Yeah,
So that's all that matters.
that's all that matters. Sure.
Um, no, but I do agree. I stopped doing late calls. If there's a timeout called, call it when it should have been called. If it wasn't, then call the foul. Do it when it happens. Stop waiting.
Officiating remains the worst part of the NBA.
Like most, I feel like most professional sports,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But yeah, so the Lakers won by 3 against the Suns. It was a tough game. Again, Suns didn't have Beal, but besides that, KD was playing. He played
But
great, like I said.
like seeing the LeBron KD, clash.
Yeah, also very fun to see that. Like we haven't, like I think there was a stat they haven't played against each other for 5 years, and now
Yeah.
they've
One of them's
played.
always out.
Yeah, and now they've played each other like twice this year,
Yeah.
because of the tournament. So that's pretty cool. Um, but yeah, I think that's mostly about the game. Reeves has been doing really well off the bench, and I have a feeling they're going to kind of keep him that way. So, sixth man of the year, here we come. And
Who do they typically start at the two?
they usually have Torian Prince now.
Oh, that guy is like a power forward, but okay.
Yeah, well, they have Cam Reddish. So they have
Oh,
Cam
that's right.
Reddish and
Cam
Torian
Reddish. Yeah,
Prince. They're basically now they're for defense 3 and D.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
yeah.
they're doing. And then they got D'Lo,
D'Lo,
LeBron, and
yeah.
AD, and then Reeves come off the bench, and then Rui is like seventh, and
With his
then
awesome mask.
yeah, oh, it looks so sick. It looks so sick. I just wish he'd been playing better. He hasn't been
Yeah.
playing as well as I'd hoped, but he'll get back into the swing of things. Now Jared Vanderbilt is there. Who's been also highlight? Max Christie. I don't know
Oh
if
yeah.
you've been watching. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so he's a second year player drafted last year from Michigan State, and he's been doing really well. He's been playing defense really well, and
I do
he was
not
up
like Michigan State.
because
Draymond. That's really the primary reason.
did he go to Michigan
Yeah.
State? Well, I don't like Draymond, but I like Michigan State. The Spartans sick. And
Yeah.
but the what was it? Oh yeah, so he was when the Lakers were down when they only had like 7 playable players. Max Christie was getting a lot of minutes, and I think he proved himself during that time. Even though Lakers weren't winning
Earn
that,
some rotational time. Yeah.
earned some rotational. Even though he is like the 10th man, like he did play. I think
10th man, number
he
10.
played 8 minutes, and he made a really big three against the Suns. I remember that. It was like a 1 point game, and Reeves got an open three. Not Reeves, sorry, Christie had an open three, and he sunk it. Like he made the one
Yeah.
shot he needed to, and he played defense. Like that's all you need to ask, from these role players. So I'm glad he's in this experience. But we should move on.
Let's do it.
Cool. Next
Let's
game.
talk about Pacers Bucks second round in the East.
Pacers
So
Bucks.
this game actually happened when we were both at work. It was really early. It was at like 4:30 my time, like 2:30
Yes.
your time.
Yes, it was
So
insane.
we both I know you may have watched a little bit. I know your work is kind of like a lot of you on the computer and stuff.
Yeah.
I did not watch any of it. So I had to go back and kind of rewatch it and look into it. The Bucks core four had all really good games. Middleton, Lopez, Giannis, Dame all had pretty good games. Not a lot of bench help. I mentioned AJ Green and Andre Jackson, for the first game. Those
Yeah.
guys basically didn't play this game. So they played like 8 guys. Like they played like a playoff rotation. The starting lineup with Malik Beasley, who doesn't do anything. And then off the bench was like Bobby Portis and like, that's it. Like they didn't have a ton of guys that did anything. On the Pacers end, I think Halliburton had another classic Halliburton game, almost a triple double. Um, and I do want to highlight Miles Turner had a really good game for them on both ends of the court. He had like 25 points, several rebounds, played good defense on the inside against Giannis and Brook Lopez. Well, I say against Giannis, Giannis had like 37. So, it's like,
Yeah.
it's one of those like you play good defense, but he's Giannis. So, like,
Yeah. So you do what you can,
yeah.
but
Um, And yeah, it was a close game for, even though I didn't watch it, I was trying to tune in on, seeing the score and such.
yeah.
Um, but it was a close game throughout. And then at the end, Halliburton, Tyrese, who took about 6 steps and then did a step back. It was a absolute travel. Wasn't even close. I was like, how is this not called? And it's so interesting because before the championship game, they played the highlight and they were like, look at this great play right here. And I was like, there's no like it's so obvious. Does nobody see this? Like
Yeah.
he dribbles and he does like he's got like a pseudo dribble, like he's about to dribble, and then he like shuffles his feet like literally 6 times and then does a step back. And I was like, okay. But he did like a step back three, and then he looked at his wrist for the Dame Time celebration against Dame Time, which I thought was pretty
Nasty.
good.
Pretty good.
And then they
Yeah.
they asked Dame about it in the post game, and he said, "Well, I've done it to people, so I can't be too mad. But he should know, what comes around goes around." So kind
Love
of a
that. Love that. Also, like he didn't say anything. Like it was very much game respects game. Like,
yeah,
if I dish it out, I got to be able to take it. Today he had his day. Tomorrow I might have the day, but very like wise like answer from a veteran, which you like to see. And they shook hands and after the game and stuff.
I
So
feel like if the Pacers make the playoffs, if they can make it as like a 7 or 8 and go against the Bucks or Celtics, that could be a fun playoff series. Um,
game 7 with that would be insane.
yeah,
I'd
I
love
think
that.
that could be interesting. But yeah, a good game again. Fast pace for the Pacers. They have the highest offensive rating in the league. They scored like 130 again in this game. So they win. They moved on to the championship. I think it's interesting. After this game, I saw and I talked to you about this with LeBron and
Hmm.
uh excuse me, and we'll talk about this in the Lakers Pelicans game, but. I saw a narrative going around that was like, why are people only talking about Tyrese Halliburton? What about like the other players on this team? And it's interesting because I think me and you have been on the Tyrese Halliburton train for a while, like far before this in-season tournament, before this season even. We've always kind of liked him as a player and talked about him as a player. So we've kind of always focused on him, but a lot of people were saying like, oh, people are just paying attention to Halliburton, not like the rest of the contributors on the Pacers. So that was interesting, and I don't know. I mean, I guess it's kind of true, but um, he is kind of the engine that runs that offense for sure.
Absolutely. I think, he I'm glad that he's getting the mention that he deserves because he is a great player. I think on the edge of superstardom is I think what one person called it, which I totally agree with. I mean, in the East, how many better point guards are there? I mean, there's a lot of really good ones, but I mean, have had the success that he's had, and so early too is crazy. But yeah, you can't forget about the others because like without everyone else like making the shots, Tyrese doesn't get 15 assists. You know what I mean? Like every game. So um I think it matters. And I do love what like the supporting cast that the Pacers have around him. I think they did a really good job building this team and they're really fun to watch too, which is great. Like that's what I want. So I'm happy for them that they won this game. I watched basically the last half of the fourth quarter because I was home working and it was like 4:30. I asked my Google Home, "Hey, what time do the Pacers play?" Because usually 4:30 my time is when these games go, and my Google said, "Oh, it's 100 to 101 right now." I said, "Hold up,
Hold on, hold
that
on.
can't be right."
Wait a second.
And then I looked it up and then I watched the end. So it was very much like Bucks make a point, Pacers score, Bucks score, Pacers score. It's very back and forth until like Tyrese made like that three, and then there was just some really good defensive possessions that they had, and they pulled away by the end. That's basically all I caught of the game. Giannis with 37 points is insane, and I mean everyone else. I mean, so Middleton, Lopez, and Lillard had double digits as well. What's insane to me looking at this is that the Pacers had 5 guys in double digits, which is crazy. Like I would not have expected that, but it just goes to show, like, you get your guys involved, they make their shots, you're gonna win basketball games.
Yeah.
So very proud of the Pacers to win that, and excited to see what they do the rest of the season, of course, as well. Next we're gonna talk about a way more exciting game.
Are you sure about that?
Okay. This was a blowout. So I watched
Sorry, Lakers Pelicans.
Lakers Pelicans. So I watched the whole game essentially, and from what I'm remembering, let me look at the scores. Okay, here we go. So I remember the first quarters, it was very close. So Pelicans were up by 1 at the end of the first quarter. It was a close game. Both teams were getting shots. The defense was really well, so a lot of players weren't getting hot, making shots. Second quarter is when everything just kind of fell apart on the Pelican side, and especially the third. This is insane. The Lakers scored 43 points in the third quarter, and the Pelicans scored 17. That is insane. And then I mean
6-point swing. Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned this. I'll talk about it now. During the broadcast, they could not stop him talking about LeBron.
I have to talk about this.
Yes, and you can talk about it. I'll make some notes.
I mean, you can talk about it first.
I just want to say I didn't like it either. That's all I'm going to say. I'm a Lakers fan, but the thing is like I understand that. I get LeBron is 38, almost 39. Guess what? How many times I've heard that during that broadcast? 117
Oh my
times.
God!
Like I get it, and he's playing really well. Okay, I get it. He's doing LeBron James things, but you know who else is doing really well? Anthony Davis. He did really well. He had 15 rebounds, and then you have Taurean Prince finally making 3-pointers, 5 of 8. Which is crazy because the games before he was like 2 of 8, 1 of 8. He's finally making shots. Rui had a good game. Reeves off the bench. Like it is not just about LeBron James. It is not. And yes, he had the 3 threes in a row, which is from the logo, which is it's crazy.
The 3 threes in a row were nuts.
It was nuts. You watch it happen. You talk about it.
I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, you watch it. You talk about it. You go to commercial break. You come back. You talk about the next thing. Okay, sure. You don't say like, man, remember when LeBron made like 2 minutes ago all those back-to-back threes? He check. I'm like, we get it. Okay, like let's move on. I will say that, like, in defense of games and broadcasts, when the team wins by 40 points
after some amount of time, it's like, what do we talk about?
What are you talking about? So that's the only excuse. But they were talking about this in like the half, and say your piece, please.
Oh.
Stretch it out.
The LeBron meat writing is crazy. That's my overall point. And it started. I mean, you mentioned once it becomes a blowout, what do we talk about? This shit was happening in the pregame broadcast. I mean, it was like, and I cannot stand Doc Rivers. I can't stand him. The guy is like, LeBron's 38, he's almost 39. He's doing things we've never seen. You're about to year 21. I've never seen anything like I was coaching, when he was a rookie, and I'm out of the league now. I'm like, shut the hell up, please. I don't care. No, I think you mentioned. Let me hit the positives, okay? Yes, year 21. Yes, 38, almost 39. Yes, we've never seen something like this. I have talked with you before, and multiple people have asked me, in terms of the GOAT conversation, which I always say, like people at my school know I'm into basketball, and they ask me that, and I say I don't care. Like that's usually my answer. However, LeBron obviously has the longest, longevity of success. Like he's not in his prime anymore, of course, but he's still like top 10, esque player in the league, and that's crazy. You never see anything like that. You saw Kobe at year 20, the guy's body was falling apart. Dirk was barely playing at like year 20 when he went out the league. Udonis Haslem has been on the bench for 10 years. That guy was in year
He's the
20.
GOAT. That's the answer.
That's the actual
He's the
answer.
GOAT.
So yes, I get it. I get it. You haven't seen this. Maybe like the only example is like Tom Brady in the NFL. The guy played till he was 45, which is pretty nuts. Um, but like I understand the awe of it, and I will say I appreciate the appreciation because I feel like for a long time in LeBron's career, he's been hated upon, and people dislike him and dislike the Jordan comparison, and so I like that we're focusing on the positive. But like you said, so many times, like they talked about it in the pregame, they talked about it as the game started. They had an interview with LeBron where they talked about, uh, the like they were talking about the in-season tournament. He's like, "Yeah, I'm just going out there for my guys." And they're like, "Oh, can you believe like what he's doing? Like he's being treated like a god essentially." It was crazy. And then the thing that really bothered me, I will admit, I made it a quarter and a half into this game, and I had to stop watching because I couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't listen to it anymore. He walked the ball up the court. Dealer got into like a really good position, like, went behind his defender, got into like an open corner, and then LeBron passed to him, hit a three, and then I think it was Kevin Harlan was like, "Oh, Russell with the three," and then Doc Rivers goes, "And that's not possible without the core vision of LeBron. One of the greatest passes we've ever seen." I'm like, yes, you're right, but that's already the seventh time you said this. Um,
Exactly.
and
Also,
I
another
sorry, go ahead.
similarly, if you don't mind, is that whenever LeBron did make those three threes and then he came down the court, it was like the next play after the timeout.
Are you talking about Austin Reeves?
Yeah, he passed Austin Reeves and then he missed it, and then the broadcast was like, "Oh, you don't pass it when you make three threes from the logo in a row." I'm like, Reeves, he had a good shot and he missed it. It's like what
LeBron
you
did
want.
one. I saw LeBron wanted the ball. He wanted it back.
Yeah,
Because he,
and but the thing is like you're already winning like by almost 30 at this point, I think. So it's like, look, don't be greedy. That's all I'm
yeah,
saying. Like you're winning the game. That's what you care about. That's what you need to care about, not personal glory, right? So
yeah,
I
and
think that's what hurt me about the broadcast.
I thought the broadcast. I thought it was interesting. They did the mix of ESPN and TNT. I think in terms of bouncing it back and forth, like the TNT guys were doing like pregame stuff, and they were like, "And here's these guys for the actual game." That was fine. Halftime, I think crew was mixed as well. I think you had like Stephen A in there at the TNT guys
Yeah,
sometimes, which was cool. Um, the commentating though, not working, mixing up. There's a lack of chemistry. They were, I feel like especially in the Lakers Pelican game is when I noticed this. There's a lot of like talking over each other, like and like not making points that make sense with what the other people are saying. So I didn't really get that. Like it was Kevin Harlan,
Doc
Candace Parker,
Rivers.
Doc
Yeah,
Rivers, and then Ali LaForce was the sideline reporter. Um, and I just think the commentating didn't super work. But yeah, the LeBron is great thing was obnoxious. I think it happens a lot with national commentators. So I think it's a Lakers thing. Like the Lakers are always like, "Oh, the Lakers," and then it's like also a LeBron thing. So it's kind of like a double whammy
yeah.
in that regard.
I will say the also comparison I get when I watch Warriors games is they're always Steph Curry this, Steph Curry that. Oh, it's an
Yeah,
off night right now, but he's gonna turn up. He's cutting, he's
right.
gonna make those shots I'm like, okay, but what is Kaminga doing? What about Chris Paul off the bench? I'm like, come on,
Yeah.
guy. Like it's like stop talking about like the one guy. We get it. Even
I
the person like the casual viewer gets it. It's
I was just getting frustrated watching that game. I literally
yeah.
like you said, it turned into a blowout, so that was a reason to stop watching anyways. But the commentating, I was like, I can't stand watching this anymore. It's made me lose my mind.
Yeah, I definitely stopped watching it. Like after halftime, I watched a little bit, and then they were up by 30. So I just like came up to my room and like worked on some music while I had the game on, just to have it on. But I didn't have sound on. I just
Yeah.
to keep up with it. That's literally all I did
And
with
the guy
that.
was drafted into the NBA when I was 6. So like, yeah, it's pretty
Crazy.
crazy. But
Yeah.
man,
But
I'm over it. I'm
yeah,
over
yeah. But you know what's more important than all of these games?
is the next game.
The next game, the championship game.
Let's talk about the championship game.
All right, cool.
Also, Zion only took like 8 shots in that game. It
I
was
was gonna say they
he was
took
like
him
six
out.
of eight,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then
He's
just like
also
didn't shoot anymore. I don't get it.
he had the worst. Actually, he didn't have the worst point differential. He was minus 33.
Pretty good.
CJ McCollum was minus 38. He was the worst
Oh,
one. Yeah, and no one else really showed up for them. Even like Brandon Ingram only got to 9 points in 30 minutes. Like when the Lakers, what's good about them too, just before I guess go on to the Pacers, which also applies to the Pacers, is that their defense is there. It's finally like there, and I think Jared Vanderbilt is a big part of that. And just having a healthy roster, which LeBron brought up at the end of the game. It's like
And a
that we're
guy we haven't
finally
talked about too much that had a big game in this championship game, the biggest game.
who? Oh, yeah. Of course, of course. Yeah, I was about to say who. Oh yeah. I mentioned him here and there, but obviously AD, as we were talking about.
Yeah.
Um, I saw someone misquote before I saw the final stat line. I saw someone say like AD with 41 points and 30 rebounds is insane.
Oh
I was
my
like,
God.
no way. There's no way. And this is 20. I was like, okay, they just mistyped. They mistyped.
30.
So so first off, I want to say I'm so happy the Pacers made it this far. Like I have really enjoyed watching them, and I will continue to keep watching them and enjoy it. Um, this game was close. It was a close game. It never, like, at the end of the quarters, like no one ever scored more than six past each other. I think the fourth quarter, Lakers scored
Until the end.
33, Pacers 27. So it's like a lot of lead changes and ties and what maybe the Lakers always had the lead. Lakers always had the lead, but the Pacers always get really close, causing the Lakers to like have to take a timeout, rethink some strategy. Um, but I think the big reason why the Lakers ended up winning, like I said, was their defense. Defense and Anthony Davis just absolutely dominating the boards and just getting at will to the bucket. And you know, it was it's just nice to see that things are finally clicking again, because it's been frustrating to be a Lakers fan, because it's like, oh, it's LeBron, oh, he's not making it, it's AD,
LeBron.
oh, LeBron, it's like ISO this that. Now they're passing the ball, getting people involved, they're going on fast breaks. I mean, Cam Reddish is making corner threes, Torian Prince is making the threes. It's like, it's nice to see. And eventually, though, they did have to rely on a few people. And interestingly enough, they relied on Max Christie. He played 19 minutes in this. I think he was just playing really solid defense, and he could keep up with the younger guys,
Mhm.
is what I noticed.
Yeah, right from the gate, these guys were running with the Pacers. They were
Yeah.
keeping the pace. I heard a comment from Darvin Ham, or maybe it wasn't a comment, maybe it was one of the commentators mentioning something they heard from Darvin Ham and they like talked to him the day before or something. Um, but like he mentioned the way he was going to do his rotation. A lot of like, he's not going to play anyone for like a super long period of time, because he needs them to have like fresh legs to keep up with the Pacers because he knows that they just like run the floor constantly. Um, Pacers, by the way, like the third youngest team in the NBA, which is kind of crazy.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And also to make it this far is so cool.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, just dominant performance from AD, and then LeBron James doing what he does, just making the buckets he needs to. He also had a double double. I thought D'Lo did really well. Like he had 7 assists. I really liked the way he played this game, and he made some pretty good shots when he needed to. So all around, I mean, Reeves coming off the bench again really well. Like, it's just I can't. There was really no negatives I could see from the Lakers side. They just had to keep
I ha
up with the
I ha
pace.
I have a negative.
What's a negative?
They made two threes in the entire game.
Maybe I deleted that from my memory.
They made their first one like
Um,
halfway through the third quarter.
yeah, they were 2 for 13. I remember hearing that. I was listening to the broadcast. I was listening to the radio because I was driving to a show,
Mhm.
and they were like, Torian Prince makes a three, first one of the game. And it was like middle of the third quarter. I was
Yeah.
like, no way. I was like, no way. They ended it was 2 of 13 from three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll point out on the other end, Pacers 10 of 41. Um, so I mentioned earlier when the Bucks, Celtics, and the Pacers were playing them, Halliburton doing a lot of setting guys up. And he did the same this game. The Lakers had a real emphasis on stopping him. I think he kind of did exactly what he wanted against the Bucks and Celtics, but against the Lakers, it was a lot of like two guys in his
Mm-hmm.
vicinity early on. A lot of switches for Vanderbilt and AD, like getting good defenders on him in switches. So he never had, Cam Reddish, I think, played good point of attack defense on him as well.
Yeah.
So he was, uncomfortable, I would say, for a lot of the first half. Couldn't get kind of to his spots he wanted to get to. He did still, I think, get pretty good passes. He had some like the way he, plays basketball, the way he shoots, the way he passes, the way he dribbles, everything looks so weird. Like it looks so awkward and strange. And even like when he was doing some passes, like he would jump in the air and then like turn and pass like midair. And I was like, wow, that's a wild thing to do. But he was getting still open looks for his guys. They just were not converting this game. Shooting the Pacers 24% from three, 37% from the field, 35 of 95. So um, just a lot of missed open shots. I think they had a lot of good shots. I will say with the Lakers defense, they have a lot of long guys in their team,
Yeah.
wingspan wise. So maybe a little more contested than normal, but still like good open looks. Maybe not wide open, but open enough to where you should definitely be able to convert them. And this was a game where the role players, didn't convert. And because Halliburton couldn't do what he wanted to, the Pacers went away with a loss here. Um, Another thing I wanted to point out in this game: 86 points in the paint for the Los Angeles Lakers, 44 for the Indiana Pacers, almost double that category. That's crazy. Miles Turner is known as a defensive center in the paint, but AD mentioned dominant game for him. They were feeding him early. I think he had like 13
Mhm.
shots in the first quarter or something like that. Like he was getting off to an aggressive start. He looked like he really wanted to win this game. Saw a lot of passion at the end from him. Um, there's this like I remember I was watching this game and like it zoomed in on his face and he was making the angriest face ever. Like after he
I
blocked
saw
a
that too.
shot, you know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about? Yeah. It's like
I was like, it's like, are you okay, man? Man, it's gonna be okay, dude. You're doing okay.
he looked so mad. And I thought that was funny. He was great on both ends of the floor. He was guarding the paint for the Lakers and then being aggressive on the other end. Um,
And yeah, a point on that too is I think what is so important for the Lakers defense to work so well and like why we won the championship in 2020 is just when AD is able to play a full game on the court, he anchors that defense. Like when he's not there, you have Jackson Hayes. He's not that guy. He's not Anthony Davis, like, level of defense. And when you see like Anthony Davis going out there and putting his all effort into the defense, then everyone it just feeds like throughout. And like we do have like guys that are there for 3 and D, but really like it feeds all from that like epicenter from him. So like I'm just like very appreciative of him being on my team because he I love seeing someone, appreciate the defense and the offense and go, above and beyond to win
yeah,
games, especially in a game like this. And I did want to I don't know if you want to add something, but I did want to ask you one thing.
sure.
Do you think the Pacers were missing shots because of nerves by any chance? Or do you think they were
Um,
there? Do you think they were ready for it?
it's interesting because, I think the Celtics, the Bucks, I mean, those are the top two teams in the East. And this is kind of the same environment, and they hit those shots against those teams. Um, it could have been nerves, I think they got to a slower start, I think, than normal. With Halliburton usually I think kind of kicks off their offense and it goes from there. And since he wasn't going, maybe they weren't going as well. Um, but like Buddy Hield, that guy is not young. He is a certified shooter. Even he wasn't hitting shots, so I'm not sure. It could have been part nerves, part kind of just Lakers making them uncomfortable and
Mhm.
not letting them kind of run their offense in the way they're typically used to.
Yeah, I will say also Pacers kept only to 109 points,
Yeah,
which is like the lowest since I think the preseason or like very early in the season. So
yeah.
um that defense, I mean, it's real. And I hope it sticks with it because I think that's like how we end up winning games that we need to win.
It's so
So
interesting too because the Lakers actually only had 5 steals. The Pacers had 10. Um, Lakers 18 turnovers, Pacers 9. So like that part of the game is like, oh, that's the Pacers' advantage. But I mentioned the percentage in the paint already for the
yeah,
Lakers. Also 23 more rebounds. The Pacers is hard to win games if you're not going to rebound the basketball.
yeah,
So yeah, I think the missed shots were ultimately the Pacers' downfall in this game. And worth noting, Pacers had 8 more fouls. Um,
Yeah.
And some of that, like, we already talked about the officiating. Some of the time I was like, I don't know if I, necessarily agree with that. I know in the broadcast, Mike Breen said, I think the Lakers average like seven when the people they play, they shoot on average like seven more free throws or something like that.
Yeah, but that's also like this was last year as well. There's a lot of I remember during the playoffs when they played against the Warriors, a lot of Warriors fans were complaining that the Lakers go to the free throw a lot more than them. It's because that's the kind of basketball like Austin Reeves has just
Austin Reeves is like Jimmy Butler.
yeah, he is like going into the paint and he can and two like he's searching for a foul. Then on Anthony Davis, LeBron, I mean, they also are searching for fouls always. Like they know like that is a way to win basketball games. So it's because of those three guys that we get more. And I agree, I don't like the officiating. Every foul call is not a foul. I don't think it should be as much as it is. But you get fouled, you get fouled, you get hit. So it should be more.
I mean, I am happy I didn't see, a lot of LeBron like, like
Yeah.
freaking out for foul calls, which is cool. But yeah, to be honest with you, I don't know. Like, I don't like the way the Lakers play basketball. I don't like
They've
it.
been I get it because I didn't either last year or the year before, but it's gotten so much better with the acquisitions they have.
I
It's
bet
not like the most fun to watch, but it's
I did like
like
Anthony
it's
Davis. I mean, that guy was he was just creating buckets for himself. But the foul drawing and all that, the LeBron AD pick and roll was unstoppable.
yeah, the Lakers do like to slow down the game, which is not like the most exciting way to watch basketball for sure. But it's how they win games, and that's how they hope to compete for a championship too. So,
So I ask you,
uh,
the Lakers in season tournament champions, does it matter?
of course it matters. It matters, but it you know it it matters because you're able to say that we beat all these teams. Like the fact that it still matters for the
Is it
record toward a
rigged?
championship, it's not rigged.
LeBron winning
They
the
played the
first
Pacers.
inaugural tournament MVP.
If it was
Uh,
Celtics
he's
Lakers,
better
I'd be
than
like,
Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan never won the in-season tournament, so
yeah, hey, so there you go. That's actually so. I wanted to say Adam Silver said a really funny thing so they awarded him LeBron the MVP, and it's important to note that it was because of through his performance throughout the tournament,
the whole
not
tournament, yeah.
because of,
If it
yeah,
was
not
just that
because of the
game,
final game.
it would have been the AD
AD,
award.
absolutely, yeah. So Adam Silver announces the MVP by saying this award goes to someone who we had to make new awards so he could win them, and he said unfortunately it doesn't come with an NBA franchise, which I thought because there's a lot of talk about LeBron like opening
Yeah.
or expanding the league in Vegas, and that was really funny. And then he gave him the trophy, and I thought it was really nice during his interview. He what's the quote you said father
Oh
time
yeah,
that you
the
want to talk
quote
about?
yeah, it was, he said
Oh,
Father
father
Time's
time.
undefeated. I'm just trying to give him one loss. And I was like, that is so corny.
Yeah, it's super corny. And they actually brought it up in the interview, and I really liked his response. His response is very much like, I'm here just to win basketball games. As long as I'm able to do it, I'm going to try. And I like it's because of the great team that we have and that we're finally all healthy that we're able to compete. It was very much like, focused on that, which I really liked. A little bit of humility.
Did you know
Um,
he's 38, almost 39 in year 21?
Wait, are you serious?
I know.
Wait, I mean, without his court vision, the Lakers would be nothing. Um, like they don't talk about it enough how good of a playmaker he is. I remember that vividly now that you mentioned it. I'm getting PTSD. But I think it matters. It's the first year that this happened is a very cool thing to have, but I think it matters because down the line it will matter more. You know what I mean? Like when they were first awarding awards DPOY, does that matter? Does DPOY, does six man of the year matter? At the end of the day, like you want a championship, right? But I think an in-season tournament win is a good indication, like, okay, maybe we can win a championship this
Yeah,
year.
that's kind of what I was
Like,
asking.
yeah, like because if the Pacers won, they'd be like that, they'd be fueled up. They're like, all right, let's go get the real thing. Let's
So
go get not real thing, but like the next thing.
I feel like we viewed the Lakers as like, at least a Western Conference Finals kind of
Yeah.
team. But the Pacers, I think, we had them as a high play-in team. Do you think
Mhm.
this finals appearance for them? Do you think it gives them the confidence they need to for the rest of the season to try to make a playoff push? Do you think maybe it's false hope, like now they're going to be too positive and they could be the easy first round exit that maybe some people predict that they will be, or what do you think?
I think they're gonna end up. I think it definitely fuels them. Like we didn't win this championship, but we can win like the overall championship at the end of this year. I think they're still going to be like maybe toward the bottom in the East, but they could be like a surprise first round winner is my thing. As though I think like we were mentioning earlier, like if they go against the Bucks, like I could see a world where like it gets to 7 games and the Pacers win, or even Celtics, because they know they can do it,
Right.
right? And that's all they needed is that they had that confidence. They know they can beat these teams.
Yeah.
So they're
I
just gonna get better. Their chemistry's just gonna get better. And
I do think the one game elimination did lend itself to a team like the Pacers that are young and upcoming and play like their own unique brand of basketball. But you can even see it in the championship game against the Lakers. They seem well prepped for the Pacers. Like they were like, okay, we're going to stop Halliburton, and we'll make the other guys beat us and play good defense, and that plan worked out for them. So in a best of seven series in the playoffs, it may be a little different than the one game elimination, but we'll
yeah,
see.
totally
And
agree. Yeah, if this is a 7 game series, it could be anyone's game. Like, and again, like I also want to say, like, even though I'm rooting for the Lakers to win, I would not be mad if the Pacers won. That's so cool. Like, I would love to
right,
see the Pacers win. Like, if it could have been any team in the East, Pacers, really cool for
how
them
will
to win
this
it.
affect LeBron's legacy?
Hmm. How will this affect LeBron's legacy? Me drinking water right now. No, I it's already cemented. There's nothing more he can do. You know what I mean? Like, and I
Yeah.
don't want to even talk about it anymore. Even
Who's
though
better,
they could.
LeBron James or Michael Jordan?
Okay, now that we're gonna mention it, let me talk about. Okay, no, like it is.
Sorry, you're listening to the wrong podcast. You want to talk about some garbage like that?
Yeah. No, we're not gonna talk about shit like that. But I will say again, like I am, you know, this year does make me a bit more optimistic for our team. For the Pacers too, like I am more optimistic for them as well than maybe I was before.
Do you think
And
the Lakers and LeBron James winning the first one will make the future ones matter more?
I actually read something that was like if the Lakers win it, people will think about it less because it's like, oh, if the Lakers win it, like why would they like it's always just going to be the team that already has 17 championships that wins or whatever.
Mhm.
I think the fact that the Lakers won it means that it might be. I think it makes it more desirable
Right.
because it's like if this team that has this storied franchise wins. I mean, next year it could be the Pistons. Who knows? 1 game elimination, anything can happen. You know what I mean? Like
The
this.
Lakers won more games in the in-season tournament than the Pistons have won this season.
Okay, but next season you never know. um, I think I think it mattered. I don't think it changes the narrative of the in-season tournament.
Mm.
I think anyone could have won. I don't think it would have made it matter less if the Pacers won. I don't think people would have didn't like it. I think it's about first step was getting the players to buy into it. Players bought into it.
A
The
lot
next
more than
step,
I thought would happen,
yeah, me too. So that's the first step. Second step, fans buying into it.
which I think is
And
also happening.
and I think that also happened. So was the in-season tournament a success?
Yeah, I gotta shout out to you on this. I think when the idea first came out, you mentioned you were excited to kind of see where it was going. I was a little more hesitant. I think I didn't get it. I was like, I don't, you related it to the soccer has something similar,
Yeah.
like a group stage format. And of course, I don't really watch soccer, so I wasn't familiar. But I just thought like, what was the point of this? I guess like when they came out with it, and I think now clearly you see the point is making basketball matter to more people earlier. And I think
Yeah.
that is successful. All throughout November, we're monitoring the IST group stage, and then we just had the knockout round just end. And it's not even Christmas yet. I think Christmas is one of the first like big days for the NBA because they have basketball games on Christmas. But now it's like people already care. And then they'll care again in the Christmas games. They'll care for the All-Star games, and then they'll care for the playoff push and playoffs.
Yeah,
So it's making basketball matter earlier for probably casual fans. I think the diehard hardcore fans would have watched this part of the season anyways. But this is getting more, I think, general public buy-in to basketball, and I think that was definitely a success because I feel like the NBA season's already being much more talked about than seasons past. So.
absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. So do you think this championship matters?
Um, yes and no. I think the knockout round, the one game elimination means any of these eight teams could have pulled it off. The fact that the Lakers did pull it off, I think will aspire them to kind of maybe be more hopeful as the season goes along. I think it actually matters more for the Pacers and Kings and Pelicans and those teams. Lakers, Bucks, Celtics, they have a lot of playoff success in years past recently. But these other teams do not. Like the Kings just made it last year for the first time. The Pacers haven't made it in this iteration of the team. Um, and this gives you that kind of playoff environment. I actually think Tyrese Halliburton had like I've never been in the playoffs, he said, and this is kind of the most something similar. And it gives you a little taste of that atmosphere, and that could be useful once the actual playoffs come. Or a team like the Pelicans, Kings, Pacers, any of those teams happen to fall to 7-10 seed, then they're in the play-in, which is one game elimination. And now you have that taste and that experience, and you're a little more prepared than the other teams that make it that year. So I think it matters in terms of before we're playing regular season games in November, but now we're playing these in-season games, which give us kind of an idea of once the postseason comes around. These might be more how the games operate compared to normal regular season games. And I think that's useful, especially for these young teams that haven't touched the postseason at all. You can start kind of figuring out how your team is going to play it and adjust to, postseason defense and such. So I think it matters in that regard more than anything else.
Yeah, I liked your point that like it would have mattered more to like the Pacers or these Kings, Pelicans
And
teams.
even, the 1, 2, or 3 games they played, I think still matters.
Yeah.
Like, even if they didn't win, I think the experience overall is important for those franchises.
Yeah, and I do want to note also that even though the Lakers won it, there's so many guys on this team that have never won anything in the NBA yet. So I was watching like they had a little bit like some clips of the celebration, and
Yeah.
they were and really enjoying themselves, and that made me happy to see how happy they were. D'Lo's never won anything. Jackson Hayes was having a ton of fun in there. Jared Vanderbilt. So it's just like they're like, this is how good this feels. What's a championship going to feel
Do
like,
you, do you
right?
put do you put a banner in the rafters like 2020 NBA champs and then right next to it 2023 in season
I
tournament
was
champs?
literally thinking that. I think they should. Like, I guess it because
I'm gonna say practice facility banner.
in soccer they put the cup wins because cup wins they put it in the stadium. So like,
You got
are
to
they
put
gonna?
it somewhere else. You can't put it next to the championship banners.
No, 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 no. I mean, like, yeah, it's actually
do
really
you do
funny.
you do do you do like in-season tourney shirts, hats? Do you do is there a parade? What's
What's really funny is that I did look it up this morning, and they do have shirts and hats
they
and
do?
stuff. Yeah, but
But
I don't
like,
know
did
about
they
a
have them on the
parade.
courts? Like when they win the finals, they like
They did.
everyone immediately they had them shirts
They
and
had
hats and
them.
stuff.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, they
funny.
had it. Exactly. Yeah. But I liked how generic they've become. Like the hat was literally said like in season tournament champions, and then on the side a Lakers logo. It was like, oh, like it could have been any a Pacers logo, it could have been a Lakers. It was just like really simple. I really wish they were more like stylized, like
What do they
how they
do with
used
the
to be.
in-season tournament Pelicans hats? Where do they go?
You give them to me and I sell them and I make money. Um,
Plan.
yeah, pretty good, right? Um, But yeah, I mean, I'm just happy as a Lakers fan, excited for more basketball coming soon. Be watching that Christmas Day, and
Yeah.
I think it was a success. I had a good
What
time
are we going to
watching
talk
this.
about next week on our in-person pod?
Oh, I don't even know.
What
I have, I
what yeah,
mean,
what's good
updates.
in-person pod
Oh
material?
well, oh Christmas presents. We're gonna do that.
We gotta do yeah.
Yeah, talk
Pre-me
a little bit about
presents.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess just updates. Maybe we can do a live podcast, decide what game we're gonna go to.
we're we're just sitting there
We're
discussing.
like sitting there, yeah, discussing like, oh, I gotta drive down for this. Oh, but if we go this, if it's at this time, then I can go to this.
Gonna
Be
play.
fun.
Are we gonna play basketball this time?
Yeah, we should do.
I don't have I told you at my school I'm organizing a student teacher basketball game.
No, you didn't. That's
I'm in
awesome.
talks with the local rec center around my school.
Oh, because y'all don't have a court, right?
Because we don't have a court or anything in the school because it's a small private school. Um, and yeah, I want to do like I was like we can do referees, we can do jerseys, like we can do the whole 9 yards, make a field trip out of it, make everybody go. Um,
Make everybody go. That's so
the
funny.
students are like, I don't think you'll score a point, and I'm like, that's an insane thing to say. That's
That's an
crazy.
insane thing to say, huh?
Like they're like, yeah, sure, you played like 10 years ago, but like, how good are you? I'm like, well, you're like 5'7" and 97 pounds, and I'm like an adult. So you're just
Yeah,
like,
it's
I
like
have that
I
going.
could, I can push you to the ground if
I'll
I
give
need
you
to.
this a
To
bonus
make it.
treatment. Like I'll
Yeah,
throw some elbows to the sternum. Yeah.
yeah. That's
It's funny. I actually sent an email to my staff. Not my staff. I'm not the head of the school. Just the staff at the school I work at.
yeah,
And I said, hey guys, like we're gonna have the student teacher basketball game because we talked about it at a staff meeting. Because a student asked me and I asked my head of school. Um, and then I brought it up at the staff meeting, and they were like, "Oh yeah," like the head of school was like, "That sounds fine." And I said, "Oh really?" So then I emailed the staff and I said, "Hey, we're gonna start meeting on Fridays, because Fridays we probably have like a third of our normal students, because our schedule is kind of like a college schedule, like you have classes Monday and Wednesday and Tuesday and Thursday, like a block
yeah.
schedule or whatever. So Fridays not a lot of people there. So and we close at like 3:30. So I said at Fridays at like 3, we're gonna start meeting at this like local neighborhood court and practicing. And I've already had like 6 or 7 teachers like, yeah, I'll go. So we're gonna like start having like teacher practice to conquer these students, which I think
Well,
could be
that'll
really
just be
fun.
fun. You can finally get like a group together, go play and
Yeah.
hoop and stuff. That's super fun.
Shout out. Let's see who's committed so far. Jared, of course.
Cool. Shout out, Jared.
My coworker Anthony, who teaches PE, so that makes sense. Um, and other people. Liz, I think. I don't know. There's like a bunch of random people. I don't want to
That's
throw
cool.
everyone's name on here.
Shout out to student versus faculty games.
Oh yeah, I was the MVP of our my volleyball game at my previous school last year.
Easy does it. And then here's my question: how does that affect LeBron's legacy?
LeBron, I don't think has ever won a student faculty game. So I mean, I got that
Well,
over with. I
there you
think
have it, guys. There you have it.
in the GOAT conversation, I'm top LeBron James and the student faculty wins.
The conversation is over. But yeah, I think we'll talk about things like that and what happens in the league, and
Yeah, maybe we should have perhaps we can do a um, you know, 1/3 of the season award update or something like that.
yeah, that doesn't sound like
I
a
haven't
bad
really talked
idea.
about that since we predicted them,
Yeah,
except for we did MVP,
yeah, a
kind
little
of.
bit, a little taste, a little
Yeah,
taste. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see what else happens this year, and just happy for the Lakers and the Pacers and any
ready
other
for
team
the
that made it.
finals rematch.
Yes, absolutely. I'd be so happy if that's how what happened.
Oh, thank you to people for listening, tuning in, watching on YouTube or Spotify, video podcast, for either of those platforms. Please, I ask this every episode, like the episode, 5 stars on Spotify, like on YouTube, comment on YouTube as well, suggestions, feedback, what you thought of the in-season tournament, stuff like that. If you'd like, we never get comments ever, so you can basically comment anything, and I'll be happy that you just interacted with our podcast. Feel free to share it, text it to people, tell people in passing, just let them know that we're here making podcasts. Next episode, it's episode 20, where we're getting there.
Making our way.
Yeah,
Nice.
I'm glad we started this journey and we're continuing. So
Keeping up with it. Yeah, definitely fun. All right, Damon, time
it's
for you to
shot
take your
time, baby.
shot.
Last time I almost made it. And then
You
I
did.
I made the actual shot afterward.
Here's for you. Here's for you.
Oh, you
Of
actually want me to make it? I feel like you never want.
course, I want you to make it.
Sure. He's like, I'm not gonna make it, but that's all right. Nope, that's off left. Yeah, I felt it as soon as it went out of my hand. I had the angle like this, and then as soon as I shot, I
Ah,
like turned my hand,
yep.
and I was like, I'm doomed as soon as it released.
I'm doomed.
I'm
Then call a
I'm
foul after
doomed.
you miss. Oh, foul. That's a foul. It's a foul.
I don't know if you can actually see it in my closet. I can see the ball right on the corner
Oh,
of
I
my
see the
screen.
little.
Yeah.
Yeah, over there. But again, thank you for listening, everybody. We really appreciate it. We will catch you next time on Two Man Game with Damon and Dom.
Buckets.